Hello and welcome. I'm Wise Old Tree, and this is a review of Dimension 20, Season 6, A Crown of Candy. Starting with an overview, A Crown of Candy is a live play D&D series produced by Dropout and released in summer of 2020. It's a full 17-episode series with Brennan Lee Mulligan as the game master and the cast of the Intrepid Heroes as the players. Allie Beardsley, Brian Murphy, Emily Axford, Siobhan Thompson, Lou Wilson, and Zach Oyama. The season is a bright and colorful political thriller in a medieval fantasy setting, and because it's the Intrepid Hero cast, there's a good bit of comedy in there as well. It's the politicking and scheming for power from Game of Thrones, mixed with the aesthetic presentation of Candyland. The heroes take the roles of the royal family of House Rocks, candy people ruling over the candy-styled land of Candia during a time of peace. However, that peace may not be so secure, as a gathering of food-themed nations holds an undercurrent of devious plots. For my overall impressions, I'll start by saying that I really like the mixture of inspirations for this season. One of the issues a Game of Thrones-like world faces is communicating the factions of the world to the audience. Game of Thrones itself takes many books or seasons before the world really opens up, and even then it's easy to get lost in who belongs to what faction or how they all feel about each other. So it's really a genius move to make all the factions in A Crown of Candy food groups. Anyone who can differentiate fruits and vegetables and dairy is someone already able to see the factional lines in the season, which gives more screen time towards actually developing the characters and story. However, I don't want to bury the lead with my impressions of the season. I don't like A Crown of Candy. I know the season and the world has a lot of fans, and if you're one of them, I'm happy for you. And I genuinely wish I felt the same way, but I don't. And my problem isn't with any one player or character, as I've seen espoused by others in regards to this season. I have PCs that I like more than others, just like every season of Dimension 20. And there's even a neat mechanic this season where all the players had backup characters designed and ready in case their initial character died. It's a more lethal season, and that fits with the political thriller aspect. But the political thriller aspect is where my issues start. In Game of Thrones, the characters of interest are the plotters, schemers, manipulators, the characters that are playing the game of Thrones. But the PCs in A Crown of Candy are already monarchs. They don't need to scheme because they hold all the power. So the PCs are passive, reacting to things happening to them instead of needing to proactively work to achieve what they want. And a political thriller where the incumbent power defeats all usurpers and wins just isn't an interesting narrative pull for me. It's not really what I want from a political thriller. There's also a tone problem. Fantasy High and Unsleeping City were both suitably comedic, and A Crown of Candy has the same comedic cast. But while those other seasons were looser and more accommodating to any comedic bits the players wanted to pursue, Crown of Candy's attempt at a more serious Game of Thrones-like drama tone is undercut by the constant comedy. That's not to say a more serious story can't have any jokes, but the tone can't constantly bounce between silly bits and serious melodrama. The latter half of the season is more serious and less funny, but the show suffers for it because I think the players are best in a lighter, funnier setting. The standout PC for me this season is King Amathar Rocks, played by Lou Wilson. Amathar isn't someone who was supposed to be king, but reasons conspired to make him the last one left. The character doesn't care much for ruling or statecraft, but when the chips are down, he can do what needs to be done to protect his people and his family. Lou portrays a genuine fatherly protection towards his in-universe children and proves himself to be worthy of the title of king that he starts off not totally believing he deserves. Being the king in the political season is a big role to play, and Lou steps up to the plate and knocks it out of the park. As for a rating, I'm going to give Season 6 of Dimension 20, A Crown of Candy, a 2 out of 5. On my scale, that's still an okay season, but this season also felt like more work to get through. Here are the things that work for me. The setting is colorful, imaginative, and manages to both be complex yet easy to understand. The miniature work and set design is phenomenal. The first half of the season is fairly decent and engaging, but it's the second half of the season that really lets me down. Earlier combat encounters feel like tense struggles for survival, but in the latter half, the player characters get so powerful, the combat episodes play more like trivial obligations. The player characters get gloomy and obsessed with revenge and murder to where it feels like that's all they want to talk about. And finally, the latter episodes also spend a lot of time setting up this Chekhov's gun of inter-party conflict, only to never fire the gun by the end of the story. Instead, the conflict boils down to a good versus evil morality struggle, which just isn't what I want from a complex political thriller narrative. So I don't enjoy the second half of the story, and the first half plus the sets and minis isn't enough to make up for it for me. But, as I said before, a lot of people do really enjoy this season, so if it sounds interesting and you haven't checked it out yet, I'd still say go ahead and give it a try. All right, that's all for now. Thank you for watching, and see you next time for Season 7, Pirates of the Leviathan.